It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to educating, entertaining, and discussion of firearms, legislation, and your Second Amendment rights. Presented in part by the Illinois State Rifle Association, Illinois Gun Works, Safer USA, and Chuck's Gun Shop. Here's your host, firearm instructor, educator, and enthusiastic Second Amendment proponent, David Lombardo.
Welcome to On Target Radio, Chicago's voice for the Second Amendment, and we're back again. I'm David Lombardo, your host, and sitting across from the council for me is Tim Dalan, my co-host. Say hi, Tim.
I'm here. I'm ready to go.
This is it. Every Sunday night, Tim and I are here from 9 to 10 p.m. and talking about all things Second Amendment. And as listeners, you have the opportunity to call in and ask our guests questions or go to Facebook, like our Facebook page On Target Radio, and they can ask a question there, right, Tim?
Yes, they can. We're monitoring that, and we're waiting for some good ones.
There you go. And speaking of having guests in the studio, this is our 14th week, 15th week.
32nd.
Whatever it is.
Whatever.
I don't know. We've been around a while now. We're old hat. But for the 14th or 15th time.
31, 32, whatever it takes. Yeah.
We're going to invite Chicago's Mayor, Rahm Emanuel, to come on the show, and we're respectful. And I really do think he's doing some good things in Chicago, but we have the sort of questions about his gun control policy, and we'd like to chat with him.
Yeah, we would. You have to be respectful, but I can get fired. That's okay.
I honestly do think he does some good things for Chicago. But Chicago doesn't necessarily do things for anyone else. Did you see about the Senator Donnie Trotter?
Yeah, isn't that hilarious?
Here's a guy who is as anti-Second Amendment as you can get. Yeah, he's a second congressional district, which is he's going for Jesse Jackson's seat.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Right, and virulent anti-gun guy. And they catch him trying to get on an airplane with a gun in his baggage.
What a crock. What a crock.
The duplicitous thing about, the anti-gun crowd. That
Don't
it's
use
okay
those big
that.
words or I'll lose you. You'll lose
Anti-gun?
me.
Anti-gun?
No, duplicitous or whatever
it just astounds me. I mean, here's a guy who says no one should be able to own a firearm. Now, but the interesting thing about this, because it's obvious how honest he was about this whole thing, he said he'd worked the night before late as a security guard, and he forgot the gun. So here's kind of the question. I talk about this in my editorial and newsletter. He had a .25 caliber Beretta. Precisely what security guard would be carrying a .25 caliber Beretta?
Exactly. I had the same thought as soon as I saw that quote the very first time. Who are you trying to kid?
Exactly.
We all know that that's just a scam. He's an anti-gun guy, just like another one in Chicago, the Chicago Machine, that says it's all right for them to have guns, but you and I can't. There's ways to circumvent the system. He's carrying that little .25 auto. He probably has some shadow game he's playing with some buddy of his that owns a security company, so he's on their books. He gets to carry a gun.
Yep.
He probably has to work by law, twice a year or something to keep his license.
I'm not sure there's
that is such a big scam.
Yeah.
Somebody out there that's reporting this on one of the network news channels or something, do a little digging there, and you will find out what a scam this guy's pulling.
Going on. It's been a bad week for guns, and then we had the whole thing with the NFL and Costas, which just torques me.
What gives him? I know everybody has an opinion. I respect everybody's opinion, but come on, he pulled up. He said. He quoted Tony Dungy, a famous coach, that Tony Dungy polled his players on his last team and asked how many of them had owned a firearm.
Out of 80, I think.
Out of 80, like 65 of them owned a firearm.
Yeah.
And then Bob actually said something along the lines about maybe not all of them owned them legally. Yeah. So was he calling somebody on that football team a criminal? He said it right there. And then he said, these are all 20-something, 25-something adults that play a violent game and they have handguns. Should a 25-year-old who plays a violent sport have a handgun? Okay, so he's excluded football players. He's excluded 25-year-olds and younger, I guess. And anybody that does anything violent, game or business, or he excludes all these people. So, Bob, you call us and tell us what are your other criteria. Can you tell I'm getting warmed?
Yeah, I can. Actually, and we have guests, so we probably don't want to spend all night on this. But you are right. But I'm not inviting him on the show. Rahm Emanuel, yes, not him. But it is what it is. I don't know. it's been a screwy week for guns.
It has.
But our fortune is going to change. You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND, and this evening's topic is going to be youth law enforcement programs. And we have two old friends on tonight. Every week we have old friends on, but we have two old friends. Sergeant Teri Ellingham graduated from Illinois State Police Training Academy in 1988 and joined the Will County Sheriff's Office the same year. During the past 24 years, Teri has worked in numerous assignments, including the Jail Division, Jail Transport Unit, Uniform Patrol, both as a deputy and as a supervisor, the DARE Grade Instructor, and she supervised the DARE Grade Programs and Crime Prevention Unit, and now coordinates senior services and Neighborhood Watch, particularly the Triad Program. In 1998, Teri became one of the founding advisors of the Will County Sheriff's Office Explorer Post number 911, working with young adults between the ages of 14 and 20 who are interested in law enforcement careers. She's the only advisor to have been to every competition that the Post has attended. Sergeant Ellingham and the Explorer Post have won numerous awards at both the state and national level. Teri, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
And another old friend who served nearly 30 years with the village of Shorewood, which is where I'm from. He was in the Shorewood Police Department in Will County, retired in 2009. I am proud to say I never got a ticket from him in all the years that he was in town. Jeff held several positions throughout his police career, from patrol sergeant to commander, retiring as lieutenant. He specialized in gang enforcement, evidence technician, and DUI enforcement. He initiated the department's domestic violence unit, for which he was recognized by the State of Illinois Bar Association as their 2008 Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. Prior to his police service, he served 3 years with the U.S. Army Military Police Corps, with assignments overseas in Turkey and stateside with the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell. He's currently a criminal justice instructor with the Grundy Area Vocational Center in Morris, and the program is a reality-based, hands-on instruction of high school juniors and seniors interested in careers in the criminal justice field. Jeff, thank you for coming.
Glad to be here.
Let's just sort of start off, if we could, with just kind of a general concept. Why do we have youth-oriented law enforcement programs? Because none of them are actually old enough to, like, own a handgun or do any actual work. So what is it?
Well, I think one of the good reasons is to prepare them to bridge the gap. They have to bridge the gap from age 18 to 21 when they can apply. So I think if you can build the foundation, our first-year program is an introductory program. So if you have an interest in that type of career, you could head in that direction, and then hopefully by your instruction you can set them up. And that's where Teri's program comes in. The Explorers, you can go till you're 20.
There's almost a dovetail, because you're high school juniors and seniors, and you're sort of picking them up.
Oh, we pick them up as freshmen. They can be as young as 14.
I didn't realize.
They need to have been finished with the 8th grade and be at least 14 to get in the program. And at that age, a lot of kids don't know what they want, but they find it interesting, so they're really, that's where the word comes from. They're exploring the career field.
And what kind of things do you teach them? Like in the CJ program. I'm sorry, in the criminal justice program.
Well, we are a dual credit program. Dual credit meaning they get high school credit along with college credit. Joliet Junior College is the host community college that they get their college credit from. So educational-wise, I'm based on what they supply: introduction to criminal justice, introduction to law enforcement, juvenile delinquency, and criminal law. But along with that, we also do the hands-on stuff, and it kind of flows into what Teri does at the Explorers program. I know the Explorers program is a Boy Scout-based program, and it works out very good.
But it's open to women, too.
Oh yes.
Coeducational, absolutely. Yeah. We start out with, they learn a little bit of military discipline as far as drill and ceremony, how to fall in, how to fall out, so that they have some structure to their days. But we do criminal law, and they learn about various events that we compete in, but they need to know, what do we do in a traffic stop from an officer's point of view, a traffic crash, a domestic, a bomb scene, a crime scene, hostage negotiations. There's all sorts of things that they do, and we learn what's the legal basis for what we have the right to do and what we don't.
Do they do ride-along?
They do. National policy is 16 or older. Will County policy at the moment is still 18 until we can get the sheriff to sign off on that policy, and it sounds like it's really close at this point. We got in a little loop there where, well, the sheriff will sign off on our policy as soon as the state's attorney does. And the state's attorney said, it's great policy, I'll sign off on it the minute the sheriff does.
and he's just been reelected, so you're up the creek without a paddle.
Yeah, 12 years later, the policy's really close to being signed again.
I know how that goes. Now, you're and we have about 20 seconds here, but Jeff, your students, they don't have any opportunity for like a ride-along type thing, do they?
Yes, they do.
Oh, they do?
Our second-year students do a 2-week job shadow. We don't really call it a ride-along. It's a job shadow. Instead of coming to school that day, the class period, the couple hours they're in that I have them, they can go to a police department. We've sent them to the Grundy County Jail, Sheriff's Department, State's Attorney's Office.
Okay, so in both cases, they're actually getting some
that opportunity is there.
FaceTime. Yeah, cool. We're talking about youth law enforcement programs this evening, and our guests are Jeff Hanley and Teri Ellingham, and we're going to be back after these messages. You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560, WIND.
Attention firearm owners or those considering exercising your Second Amendment rights. I want to tell you about Illinois Gun Works. From void services and new firearm purchases to gunsmith services and an indoor shooting range, Don and his staff will assist you without attitude or pressure. Need training? Illinois Gun Works' popular Illinois Responsible Firearm Owners class teaches you the regulations to legally defend yourself, own, and transport your firearm. There's a required class for a Chicago firearm permit and popular new shooter familiarization class, including one for women. Now, I took this class and urge you to reserve your spot fast for this fun class. Illinois Gun Works offers a wide selection of training and certification classes, from security work to those just considering ownership, even special group classes. Illinois Gun Works, Chicagoland's full-service firearm headquarters, is located on Grand Avenue, just a block west of Harlem in Elmwood Park. Call 708-452-0040 or visit IllinoisGunWorks.com. That's 708-452-0040.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. How's it going over there, Tim? We doing good?
We're doing great.
I want to say a special hi to Jamal. Jamal is the guy who owns the cigar club that I belong to, and he owns three different places. I haven't been to the other two, but I've been trying to get him to advertise, and he's sort of interested, So he said he was going to listen to the show tonight. So if you're listening, Jamal, hi.
And I've met Jamal, and he's such a great guy. He would be so awesome if he would advertise with us. Come on, Jamal. We're there with you, man.
Have you taken a Dale Carnegie course or what? Where did that come from? But Jamal is a nice guy. He's a very nice guy.
No, he is. I met him. He is nice.
It's great. And it's a great cigar club, by the way. It's called Burning Leaf, and it's in Plainfield. And, they got big screen TVs and a good group of guys. Anyway, that's a free commercial for Jamal. But we like him. So back to youth law enforcement programs. We have Jeff Hanley and Teri Ellingham on this evening. Can we debunk the TV stuff? Everybody wants to be like the CSI guy, and I mean they think these people really exist, that they're guys who run around with guns and they do all this stuff. And can we talk about that for a minute?
Oh, sure, because I think every guest speaker, every person I've had in the career field has always mentioned that. Now, tomorrow I have Kathy Sullivan from the Crime Lab coming in, and she does a phenomenal job of dispelling all the myths associated. The one that always strikes to my mind is it's always dimly lit on TV, and she'll tell them right out, the brighter the better. They want all the bright lights, their lab's bright, so it's she does a good job with that. And ours is a reality-based program. I usually start out first or second day, CSI is not real, put it right on the whiteboard, and we go from there.
Yeah.
With the super cops, where the patrol officer who responds to the scene is the same person who's taken the evidence and processing the fingerprints.
Absolutely.
And it goes to the lab, and within an hour they've figured out the rare blood type. That means that there's no lab. I've never heard of one that's got amazing DNA processing turnaround within minutes.
Yeah. It's just not. Although it is true. Although I learned something interesting from our guys. There are different color lights. It's not just ultraviolet. They actually have different color lights that they use. And it is true that if you turn one of those babies on in a motel room. You will never stay in a motel again as long as you live. That's it's beyond disgusting. It's absolutely beyond disgusting. So let's go over to something a little bit different. What is the difference between the criminal justice program and a law enforcement program?
Well, in criminal justice, we teach the 3 C's, cops, courts, corrections. A law enforcement program is basically a police-only law enforcement type thing. I try to teach all aspects of the criminal justice system, which is the 3 cops, courts, and corrections.
Yeah, I guess that's coming from a sheriff's background. The sheriff runs the courts and the jail, and so for us, we still acknowledge it does an integral part of a sheriff's job, but we do primarily focus on the law enforcement and the patrol roles and or the tactical roles, the SWAT-style stuff that police do, and we don't really emphasize the day-to-day operations of the court or the jail, but our kids have a familiarity with it because it's our job as sheriffs, and this is our post, and so the sheriff's office is our home, and so they want to see and look and see what the jail looks like, and unfortunately sometimes get locked in the training cell.
We try to not get them to focus just on police. There are so many careers in the entire criminal justice field. Prosecutor, public defender, bailiff, probation, corrections. So try to give them a wide array of careers to pick from.
You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND. Our subject this evening is youth law enforcement programs. Teri, with the kids that you get in the program, and actually this would be true to ask you this question, Jeff, but you sort of matriculate into your program, whereas the Explorer program is completely elective. I mean, you can take them or not, I assume. Do you do background checks on them? And if you don't, is there a concern that, like, how do you know you're not getting a gangbang or somebody who's just trying to learn the system?
The limitation is that we have references from them, their school, their parents, their 3 adults who've known them for a couple of years. And the question we're going to ask is, why are they interested? I mean, what's the drive to join our Explorer post? We like kids who are interested in it, and we've had kids join who tell us straight up, I'm not really interested in career in law enforcement, but this is fun for now. When I grow up, I'm going to be a chef. And okay. And as long as he can do the functions and participate on the team and enjoys the competitions, why not? Because they ultimately leave with good skills. But yeah, we do ask the parents, we ask some of the references, and once in a while we have to dig deeper and go to the school and some of the teachers and go, what's going on with this kid? Because sometimes we get kids who, they need us a lot more than we need them. They're not as big an asset to the program, but boy, they really need some structure and some discipline in their life. And so some of those kids we still take if they're troubled, but they're trying to be on the right path or they're looking for the path. But sometimes we haven't had the experience. We've got a kid who's looking to find, to cheat the system, to know how to get around the system. I haven't had that occasion. But yeah, we do some background checks.
We do background checks for the second-year students that are going to do a ride-along. Usually the host agency will run a little background, and the kids know that going into the program. The first-year program is more of an introductory program where, I have an interest in that area. I'd like to explore it. When the kid comes back for the second year, then they know if they're going to do a job shadow, they're going to get a background check run on them.
Do either of you know, do people, and I think it'd probably be more difficult for you because the age difference between graduating from high school and actually being able to go to work is huge in your case. But do you know if your people who've been in your programs go into law enforcement or some form of it?
I do.
See, this is radio. You can't nod your head. You actually have to speak.
I'm sorry. I couldn't tell if Jeff was about to answer. We definitely have some kids from our program who are working in law enforcement right now. One of the kids who came with us to our first ever national conference in 2000 is a detective with the city of Joliet. And a lot of kids come through the program and do get into law enforcement, but it is a small percentage ultimately. There's just, when we've got 20 kids in a program and 4 or 5 seniors in 1 year, I mean, not everybody goes into law enforcement. A good percentage of them go to the military. And 1 in 10 maybe make it into law enforcement. A lot of kids kind of self-select and discover that this is a lot harder than they thought it was, and it's a lot harder to get a job than they thought it was. They thought this is what I want to do, I'm going to apply, I'm going to get the job.
Do either of you students get firearms training?
Oh, anybody who goes with us to competition has to have firearms training or they can't participate. And while we would love to take all 20 of them out onto the range, we just don't have the resources, enough firearms instructors to have them all out. So if we're taking 8 to competition, those 8 get the competition or get the training.
Ours is weapons familiarization. In fact, you host it.
Sort of a loaded question. But
Yeah, and I think it's very vital to know because it's an important part of the position. So they have to understand all the aspects of a firearm, what it does, what it can do, and the safety part of it.
It's the comment about statistically they don't. A lot of them don't go into it. We do a youth camp, shooting youth camp for kids every year. For kids ages 10 to 16. And I've said, this will be our 15th year, and I've said since day one, all I want them to do is have a positive experience so that they may never pick up a gun again as long as they live, but they'll have a positive attitude about it. And I always, I joke, but it's true. I'm training voters. That's really what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And don't we need that?
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, it's, we're like 50-50 right now in this country, and it's... Well, we won't go down that road tonight. We're talking about youth programs tonight. We have about a minute left before we go into a break again. But what about local departments? I mean, do they know that what you're doing? Do they support you? How does it? Are you getting anything out of that at all?
Oh, we get great assistance. We have an advisory committee made up of the Sheriff's Department, all the local departments, the judge, defense attorney. In fact, we just met last Thursday. With our advisory committee, and they know what we're doing. We get input from them on curriculum, on what we should be teaching them, and then it also opens the door to the ride-along and the job shadow. So they all the departments know that we're here.
Great, and I assume that's true of Will County, too?
Lots of different small towns have their own Explorer post. They don't,
right.
They don't all do firearms training, but they have their own programs.
Sure. Great. We are going to be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to On Target Radio. We will be back talking with Richard Pearson, Executive Director of the Illinois State Rifle Association, after these messages.
Chuck's Gun Shop proudly serves Riverdale and the surrounding communities. Conveniently located near the 142nd Street exit of the Bishop Ford Expressway, Chuck's Gun Shop is staffed by friendly, skilled professionals who will help guide a first-time shooter and assist you in obtaining a State of Illinois firearm owner's identification card. Chuck offers a full line of new handguns, rifles, shotguns, knives, and accessories. Chuck's also buys, sells, and trades used firearms and has a gunsmith on location that will provide expert care for your favorite firearm. Chuck's features a 6-lane indoor shooting range. Bring your own firearm or rent one from their wide assortment. If you live in Chicago, Chuck's Gun Shop offers the required Chicago firearms permit course. Chuck's Gun Shop is open Monday through Saturday and located at 14310 Indiana Avenue in Riverdale. Visit their website, chucksgunshop.net, or call 708-849-4455. That's 708-849-4455. Chuck's Gun Shop, serving Riverdale and surrounding communities.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford to Western Michigan and Southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487. 5487.
We now return to On Target on AM 560 WIND. If you have a question or opinion, the studio line is 312-642-5600. Now, here's your host, firearm expert and educator, David Lombardo.
And we have a question from Eddie on Facebook. Eddie would like to know, what percentage of crimes does CSI evidence solve the case? Jeff?
I don't know if we could give an exact percentage, but I know that CSI supplements a lot of cases, even cases where you would have a confession or eyewitness account. They're still going to go through with the CSI process to supplement the entire investigation.
Sure, CSI in and of itself doesn't solve a crime. It provides you with the material.
Yes.
That you need to make the case with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. And now, that magic moment that, well, at least Tim has been waiting for. We all have, okay, fine. So Tim is going to do his Fighting Back section.
This is Fighting Back, brought to you by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
This is actually better than Tip of the Day. So,
right.
Yeah.
Tonight, I would like to start off by saying congratulations to the senators and House reps in Springfield who voted this week to overturn the governor's veto of Senate Bill 681. For those of you who hadn't yet heard, as of this past Thursday, December 6th, effective immediately, it is now legal to order ammunition through the mail from in-state vendors in Illinois. Thank you to our listeners and everyone else out there for fighting back against Governor Quinn and calling their elected officials to encourage this great decision. On another note, we here at On Target Radio would also like to commend the actions of one Devin McLean. During a robbery at the Virginia AutoZone store where he worked, Devin, a Virginia concealed carry permit holder, was able to escape and return from his car with his legally possessed personal firearm. Devin then confronted the armed robber, who immediately threw up his hands and fled from the store. By his heroic act, Devin very possibly saved the life of a coworker, and instead of being commended by his employer, Devin was fired last week for violating the store's policy of no firearms in the workplace. After the fact, Devin even confirmed he knew about AutoZone's policy, but chose instead to save the life of his friend. I don't know what you would do, but seriously, I can only hope that I would have the guts to follow Devin's example. Now, within 10 minutes of my house, I have an AutoZone, a Pep Boys, a Napa, a Murray's, and an Advanced Auto. Next time I need a wiper blade or a battery for my car, I know where I won't shop. How about you? This has been Fighting Back, sponsored by the Illinois State Rifle Association.
We can't fire George, can we? No, we can get rid of him and his sound effect machine. Okay. Richard Pearson is on the line. Richard, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. You going to give us an update on Springfield or what's happening with the ISRA, or what are we going to talk about?
Well, we're going to start out with Springfield. 2 weeks ago we overturned SB 681, which Tim alluded to, and in the Senate, and last week we overturned it in the House, and so it is now law. And so it is possible every once in a while to overturn a governor's veto. And this is the second time that the Illinois State Rifle Association has overturned a veto of a governor. We overturned one by Governor Blagojevich, so we're pretty pleased with that. And but that's not going to stop Governor Quinn. He already has a couple of other very ludicrous assault weapons bans that he is planning to implement by hijacking one bill here, another bill there, and trying to get it through that way. And we're going to have to be ready for him, not only at the end of this session, but on the 9th of January, a new session starts. And so at that time, all the old bills will die, but you'll see all the new ones coming out within 2 weeks.
Is there? I know it's a democratically controlled both sides of the aisle. Both houses, but there are, particularly like Southern Democrats, tend to be pro Second Amendment. I mean, are there enough votes? Do you think that they could actually get a semi-automatic firearm ban in the state of Illinois?
Well, it's always close. We lost 7 seats in the House, pro-gun seats, in this last election, and so we're going to have to work pretty hard to survive that for 2 years. Hopefully in 2 years we can gain some of those back.
And I assume then if we lost 7 votes, that kisses off concealed carry, at least from a legislative perspective.
That's true, although we are still waiting for the Sherrifs versus Madigan case.
That's been quite a while. I mean, what's the holdup? Don't they usually weigh in on that sooner than this?
Well, they do, but this is a very contentious case, and so they're taking their time and delaying it as long as possible, I actually think.
Well, all we can do is hope. We've got about 30 seconds left. Richard, what's happening with the ISRA? You are going to be going to schools, I heard. You're going to be doing some education. You got about 20 seconds now.
Yes, we're planning on a series of schools coming up. We're calling it ISRA University, just to give it a little bit more snap. We have a AR-15 maintenance class, AK-47 maintenance class, a Civil War class, and of course we're going to partner with Safer USA and put a bunch of basic and instructor classes on also.
And I did not pay you to say that, did I?
No, you didn't.
See?
And Richard, where would they go to find out more information about those classes?
Well, if you go to the website, and also if you're an ISRA member, of course, you get the Thursday bulletin, which has links to all those classes.
You do indeed. Richard, I will see you for dinner in Las Vegas at the SHOT Show.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in.
Good night, Richard.
And you're going to be back with more On Target Radio, and you're listening to AM 560 WIND.
For 35 years, Pelcher's Shooters Supply has served the Lansing area. Pelcher's offers new and used firearms sales, appraisals, and gunsmithing service. Pelcher's new spacious showroom has hundreds of major brand firearms and supplies, and PelcherGuns.com features daily specials. Pelcher's Shooter Supply, on the corner of Ridge Road and Henry Street in downtown Lansing. Online at PelcherGuns.com or call 708-474-0662.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
Yeah, I forget that there's a camera up there. Well, that was embarrassing, wasn't it?
Yeah, well.
For those of you who aren't watching us on video, you're better off. Trust me on that. We have a question from Matthew who says, who asks, can you describe the role between private security and law enforcement? Would it be a worthwhile endeavor to offer private security classes at the community college level?
Well, I think I know Joliet Junior College offers some classes in private security. We touch on it very small. The main difference being is private security does not bestow arrest powers and they give the authority that police and law enforcement usually has.
We don't have a specific discussion of of how to go from one to the other, but a lot of our explorers, once they turn 18 and they're still looking for law enforcement-related jobs, a lot of them do take private security jobs. And so we talk about what authority they have in law enforcement versus the authority they may have as private security. So we talk about it in our program, but I don't know that overall that's part of the law enforcement exploring program to discuss what is what.
Well, and also a natural step, if a department has it, is like an auxiliary.
Absolutely.
The Will County Auxiliary is an armed auxiliary, so you're actually sworn and you wear the body armor, carry the gun, get the free Dunkin' Donuts and the whole bit. So I did that for 18 years in Will County, and I always liked the donut.
Our auxiliary came out real nice and supported our Shop with the Sheriff this past weekend, and we're pointing out to the 17 and 18-year-old explorers, going, "This is your next step."
What happened this past weekend?
Shop with the Sheriff.
Oh yeah.
Took the underprivileged kids all shopping at a local Kmart in New Lenox, and I mean, had to be almost a third of the officers were auxiliary officers.
That's cool.
And a lot of them came out, and so my explorers that were able to come out, and the kids in the program looking at the explorers going, "How old are you?"
Yeah, some of them are pretty young. There is, notwithstanding the misconception of what CSI people do, it is an interesting field. It's very science-oriented, and you get to do some pretty cool stuff. How does one, if they're interested specifically in that sort of role, is that a distinctly different role, or are they a deputy or a staff guy and they go into it? How do you get there?
Well, I know in Illinois you have to be a police officer first somewhere, and usually with the department that has an evidence, full-time evidence detail and things like that, the state police. There are a few states, and I know Nevada's one, Arizona's one, Florida is one, that have civilians CSI. But you have to understand, there's the CSI that's in the lab, and then there's the CSI that does the crime scene processing. And those are two distinct positions.
And for us, they're regular patrol deputies or regular patrol police officers. They have to be a sworn officer, and they express their interest in pursuing that segment of our career. And so there's a lot of specialized classes, but they tend to commit to that unit for a number of years so that they get good at their skills, and they don't handle the regular patrol calls any longer.
But like with most sheriff's departments, they're union. So is it a bid thing too?
There's some aspect of that too, sure. There's seniority, but there has to be an interview with the division head because there has to be certain career. Not everybody can stand going into the bloody crime scene or really want to go to the autopsies and see all that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand what you're really getting into. There's nothing like seeing someone shot up close with a shotgun, which still sticks in my mind rather heavily. You're listening to On Target Radio, AM 560 WIND. We're talking about youth law enforcement programs. Our guests this evening are Jeff Hanley and Teri Ellingham. Do you need to go to college to go into law enforcement?
No, it's not a requirement.
It depends.
But
yes, some departments do not require college. Most, if they don't require college, they certainly reward college. You don't have to go, but certainly it shows your commitment. It shows your ability to complete a thing that you've begun. It's definitely looked on with favor if it's not out and out required.
If you're looking, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If you're looking to advance,
that's what I was going to say.
It's a no-brainer.
If you want to be promoted like sergeant,
absolutely.
Basically you almost have to have an associate.
Absolutely,
don't you?
Absolutely. And it gives you an advantage in the hiring process. It gives you an advantage in the promotion process. The Illinois State Police, I know we just had a guest speaker in, and they require a bachelor's degree.
And anything like the FBI, CIA, any of those kinds of things, oftentimes a bachelor's not even good enough. So.
Well, I know the FBI is a bachelor's with 3 years of work experience, unless you bring something else to the table.
Specialized skills.
A specialty
to
the table. Language.
Computer, law,
Pilot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They pilot here, they pilot there. What are you going to say? I don't know. We got about 30 seconds to go.
Is that
here.
aviation humor?
Sorry. It is. Yes.
Coming from
and no one got it so much for the aviation humor.
I got it.
Yeah. Did you? There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't laugh. You're supposed to laugh.
Because it wasn't funny.
Real quickly, because you're an ex-military guy. Most of us are here. Law enforcement in the military, that helps you when you get out then, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it shows discipline, dedication, especially, you get out with that honorable discharge. They're going to look at your specialty.
Particularly military police.
Military police, security police in the Air Force, all those types of things. Yeah, it's a definite advantage.
Great. We're going to break again. The time goes by so quickly, Tim.
It does.
It does.
Always goes by so quickly. So all you young people out there, a good idea would be to call your recruiter. Your military recruiter could put you right in that shore patrol MP spot.
Just don't go in the Marine Corps. Stick with the Army. Got to go now. We'll be back with more On Target Radio after these messages.
Run, Army dog.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, host of On Target Radio. You're living proof that radio advertising reaches listeners. In the 2 years I've been advertising on AM 560 WIND, Safer USA grew from 300 students a year to over 1,200. By coupling our On Target Radio broadcast with our Facebook page, we found our audience is steadily growing, and in only 2 months it appears we've exceeded 5,000 listeners. Over 34% are in the age group 25 to 34, 26% are 35 to 44. We have listeners from Rockford, to western Michigan and southern Wisconsin to St. Louis. Thanks to live streaming on the internet, we also have listeners as far away as Germany, Japan, and New Zealand. On Target Radio is offering low-cost sponsorship opportunities on Chicago's premier conservative talk radio station. Advertising on AM 560 WIND has worked for Safer USA. Let me show you how it can work for you. Call 815-744-5487. Join the On Target Radio team today at 815-744-5487.
You're listening to On Target on AM 560 WIND with David Lombardo. Here's David with more interesting conversation on firearms, safety, your Second Amendment rights, and much more. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. We have Charles says, are auxiliary officers allowed to carry off-duty per department policy? You want to field that, Terry?
And absolutely not.
That's an absolutely not. And, of course, Illinois has no concealed carry anyway, but you do get the free donut and coffee. That's the important part. You do get that. No, they are not. Now, that's off-duty. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're never in civilian clothes, in which case you can carry as long as you're on duty. It's like getting your car refueled, stuff like that. But,
on a specific assignment.
Yeah. If you're doing something specific, even though you may not be in a uniform doing it, but no, this is not a key to getting to carry a gun. You do when you're on duty, but it's not a key otherwise. Jeff, would you like to tell people who may live in, well, first of all, what area do your students come from?
Well, I have students from Coal City, Morris, Manuka, Reed Custer High School, which is Braidwood, Wilmington, and Gardner, South Wilmington.
And Wilco, which you used to be with Wilco, covers what area? Oh,
they cover 10 schools, 10 high schools, all the Plainfield schools, Bolingbrook, Romeoville, Lamont, Wilmington, and Reed Custer also. So, yeah.
So if somebody is in your area and they're interested in the program, how do they find out about it?
You can check the websites. Grundy Area Vocational Center has a website, as does Wilco. My email is jhanley@ccu1.net. You can give me an email.
Okay.
There's 17 of these programs across the state, from Collinsville all the way up to Lake County.
Terry, how would people who might be interested in the Explorer program get a hold of you?
Email Wilco, T. Ellingham at wilcosheriff.org, or the office number is 815-727-5678. Our students come from within Will County and also a couple miles kind of perimeter of the county, especially underserved areas like Tinley Park doesn't have a post, or Mantino. So we've got kids from those areas and those schools coming to us as well.
And the ages for that, again, are?
14 and finished with 8th grade all the way through 21. Actually, the year you turn 21 is the year we have to graduate you from the program. We've had a couple of assistant advisors who are civilians. They've come through the program, they finished the program, and they're still mentoring the youth while they're still going to college, still looking for jobs.
We would like to thank our guests this evening, Teri Ellingham and Jeff Hanley. Thank you for coming in.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
We'll thank Vicki Cohen, who's our call screener, who did not get a workout tonight, unfortunately, and George Hoffman, who makes weird noises on the board. We'd like to thank our sponsors, as always, Illinois Gun Works, Chuck's Gun Shop, Pelcher Shooter Supply, Illinois State Rifle Association, our website developer 31 Moons, and Safer USA. Next week, Tim, we have close quarter defensive tactics.
Oh, we're going to be slamming people out in the hallway.
The red meat eater crowd, tune in next week.
We need a tackling dummy, everybody can volunteer on Facebook.
That's it.
Bring bandages.
Jeff, our buddy Jeff Gregorick will be here. Jeff is a 20-year retired Marine Corps Spec Ops guy, and Nick Ferrucchi and Barbie Ehlers are going to be here from Ballistic Fighting Methods. We're going to talk everything about up-close and personal defense, handgun, edged weapons, open hand, everything, right?
Right.
So that's coming up next week. Until then, be sure to friend us on Target Radio on Facebook.
Yes, and our podcast, we have a podcast station on Podomatic.com on Target Radio. We have our recorded shows on YouTube on Target Radio channel. Those will all be posted on our Facebook page, as well as the contact information for tonight's guest. We'll put that on our Facebook page also.
And in case you're wondering who the other guy was worming around, that's Tim Montague, who's trying to make us smarter.
Shouldn't be too hard.
Shouldn't be. Hope to see you all next week at 9 p.m. for more On Target Radio. And thanks, Mike, for making this all possible.